In today's video, I wanted to provide you all with the ultimate beginner's guide to the DMZ here in Call of Duty Season 3, all right? The reason why I wanted to create this guide was to give people who are jumping into this game mode for the first time the information needed to feel confident and to set expectations on their first few DMZ runs. Or if you are a DMZ vet, this is meant to give you a refresher before getting busy in Season 3, okay? Do know that I'm going to try my hardest to cover everything, but I do not know everything in the world, all right? There may be some details that I am unaware of that will come to light as we really get into Season 3, and as I continue to learn, I will only continue to release informative guides like this so that we can all grow together, okay? Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead, let's dive in and talk DMZ. Let's kick things off by talking about what the DMZ really is, all right? The textbook definition is DMZ is an open world, narrative-focused extraction mode where operator squads have free reign to complete faction-based missions, take on additional side objectives, engage with enemy operators or AI combatants, and search for valuable items, all while fighting to survive towards exfiltration. Now, in my own words, this is an extraction shooter sandbox where you can focus on individual missions, do contracts to acquire better weapons and overall loot, and just explore and have fun at will, all right? You'll be faced with fighting AI combatants as well as other players that are trying to accomplish whatever objectives they may have in mind, okay? Just remember, the only way that you can keep what you find in terms of weapons, armor, kill streaks, and other equipables, you have to exfil, okay? This is when you call in an extraction chopper to come and pick you and all your teammates up so you can all get off the map safe and sound. Just be careful because enemy teams can take your chopper as well, so keep an eye out for the opposition. Side note, if you die, you'll lose your weapons, backpack, armor vest, and other equipables that you went in with. Now, when it comes to exfilling, it is good to know that there are only 3 places on the map Mazrah where you can exfil at any given time, and if you are on the map for long enough, radiation will begin to expand from a random point on the map, and there will be one final exfil location that the remaining teams will have to either join forces to exfil together or fight for. Do know that Building 21, which is another DMZ map, only has a single extraction elevator, and Ashika Island has 2 points that you can exfil from. As I alluded to earlier, I want you to think about the DMZ like this. If you want to focus solely on mission completion, then have at it. If you want to be a bully and ruin everybody else's run, then fly around the map like a lunatic and try to kill everybody. I don't advocate for that personally, but if that's your thing, go for it. You know, maybe you should go give Resurgence a try if that's your thing, but hey, I digress here. If you enjoy helping others with missions and amplifying their positive experience, then I encourage that. DMZ can literally be whatever you want it to be. Real quick, let's talk about the maps that are available in the DMZ, okay? At the time of recording this, there are 3 maps available, of which 2 of them you can access at any moment. The third one is one you have to get a key card for, and you have to make sure you are within the limited time access window to play on, all right? The first map we all know and love, Mazrah. This is the big map. This is actually the biggest map that has ever been created in the Call of Duty franchise. In a battle royale, there's up to 150 players, but in the DMZ, there can be up to 66 players or 22 teams of 3 in a perfect case scenario. By the way, this is all to my knowledge. This is not confirmed. I actually cannot find confirmation. So this is what we're going off of based off of my own research. Now, on this map, having a vehicle is almost mandated, or else you will struggle to get around efficiently on those missions that require you to visit multiple points. The second map is Ashika Island, also known as the small map, and it is home to the Resurgence game mode on the Battle Royale side of things. On that side of things, this map can hold up to 52 players, but I believe that number is less in the DMZ. Actually, I know it's less in the DMZ. And based off of my own experience, I would have to guess that there are probably 4 to 6 teams of 3 at any given time, but this is purely my own speculation. I'm not 100% sure, as I could not find confirmation on the DMZ total player count. The third and final map, at least at this moment in time here moving into Season 3, is Building 21. This is an exclusive map to the DMZ, and it is much more of a close quarters map, all right? It's a building with many hallways and some verticality. Although unconfirmed, I believe that there are a total of 4 teams at any given time that can spawn into the building. Of course, 4 teams of 3. Do know that this map was created more so for close quarter combat, so The encounters here are so much more chaotic. Now, as we move on, let's talk about objectives. What are the main things you are supposed to do in the DMZ? Well, I'm glad you asked. One thing you will be spending your time on completing are missions that are assigned to you by one of the respective factions, okay? You can select up to 3 missions before dropping into a run, and these missions will require you to do multiple tasks that can range from anything and everything. This may be to have you exfil with a certain number of items like 10 stems, for example, or visit multiple locations in a particular type of vehicle. Some missions even require you to kill other players around the map in a particular style or using a particular weapon. So, like I said, these missions can definitely vary. Now, not all missions require an exfil for them to complete, so if you die on a run but you completed a tough contract, do not worry, you do not have to redo it. Only the missions that state that you need to exfil are the ones you would have to redo in that instance. Also, know that there are tiers of missions. Once you complete all of the respective tiered missions, you unlock the next tier, which increases in difficulty. Another thing you'll be spending time on will be contracts, okay? You find these once you spawn in on the respective map. Think of these as mini missions, and some contracts have to be completed in order to actually complete an actual mission. These contracts can range from sending you to drill open a weapon stash, have you collect radiation materials, have you destroy supplies, and more, okay? By completing contracts, you are provided with money, armor vests, weapons, and or other pieces of extractable loot. These are incredibly useful if you need to regain after dying on a prior run. Something you'll be doing as a byproduct of completing missions and or contracts will be acquiring new weapons and gear. These are even some blueprints like the M13B that you can acquire by extracting with it in the DMZ. When you unlock weapons or blueprints like this, they are available for use in the multiplayer and the battle royale, so keep that in mind. Moving on here, something I would like to talk about is regaining, all right? Remember, there are actual players in the DMZ with you, so do know that everything is not always bubbles and roses. There will be gunfights where you and your squad will lose and you all will have to start from the ground up again. In losing, you lose everything that you went into the DMZ with, unless it is an insured weapon. If it is insured, then it will have a cooldown for you to be able to use that particular weapon again, which you can decrease the time of that cooldown by inserting cash into a random dead drop, aka a trash bin that is somewhere on the map, or exfilling with a ton of cash and or valuables. Now, something I've learned about regaining is that it can actually be a pretty simple thing as long as you stick to a script, all right? The best way to regain will be for you to complete contracts around the map, but diving into something like that, like a weapon stash or something of that nature, could be suicide because when you spawn back in on that next run, you only have a 1-plate armor vest and those bots will shred you, all right? Personally, I would land somewhere where I could find a ton of cash in cash registers like buildings in Mazrah City. Granted, if you're watching this guide, you don't have a ton of map awareness, or at least I assume you don't, so I would prioritize going to a point of interest on the map and hunting for valuables that you can sell at a buy station, okay? At buy stations, you can find decent weapons to purchase, but more importantly, you can find a 2-plate vest to grab alongside plenty of plates. I would prioritize selling enough to purchase that vest and then from there grab a weapon stash contract. Something else to note, as of Season 3, you can adjust contraband weapons that you find on the AI or other enemy players at workbenches, which can be found near buy stations. For some cash, the workbench allows you to add attachments that you have unlocked for that particular contraband weapons platform onto a piece of contraband or remove them piece by piece. After weighing if it is worth adjusting your contraband weapons or not, you can resume the weapon stash contract endeavor. Although it'll be a bit difficult due to the AI, these will be the best contracts for you to load up and will give you the best chance of getting another 3-plate vest, okay? Once completed, you are back in the game and ready to resume whatever mission you have equipped. On the other hand, if you want a fresh reset, go ahead, exfil, and load into the next match ready to rock. Side note here, as of Season 3, you will be given 3 active duty operator slots, which equates to having 3 separate operators who have their own respective items like backpacks, plate carriers, kill streaks, self-revives, and gas masks, okay? So if you have all 3 operators kitted, You will not have to restart from ground zero if you wipe on a run. You can just select another operator and be able to get back busy. Or you can just have each operator set up for their own respective duties. For example, you can have one operator prepped for major story missions and building 21 runs, stacked up with a 3-plate carrier, self-res, and things of that nature, while having another op that is built solely for scavenging items with nothing but a 1-plate carrier to their name. Totally your call there though. Now we have made it to that part in the video where I will share with you all some things that I feel like you all need to know, okay? These are some things that I find important personally that I would like for you all to keep in mind as you play DMZ. This may not be everything in the world, but these are things that, as I said before, I would consider to be important and I think they should be known. If anybody else has any further advice outside of this, feel free to comment down below at any given time because, hey, I want to make sure as a community we are here to help each other. One thing that I want to make sure everybody keeps in mind is that you do not always have to PvP, okay? Remember, you don't have to kill every other player that you come in contact with. With the inclusion of proximity chat, you now have multiple options on how you can approach the situation. Believe it or not, there are a ton of cool players that only want to complete objectives just like you. You can either use the join function to join one another, since you can have up to 6 players on a team on Mazrah, but only up to 4 on building 21. Keep that in mind. Not quite sure on the join limit when it comes to Ashika Island, but I would assume somewhere in that 4 to 6 range at max. Or you both can agree to disengage and go your separate ways. GG's only. I have had both scenarios happen to me, and the end result was that everybody won. Now, you will run into teams that want all the smoke, and in that case, you got to be ready to show them what you're working with, all right? With that being said, I would not explore that option until the ones that were mentioned prior were exhausted. To kind of piggyback off of that, you have to know when to kill other squads. You'll know right away if somebody is willing to be a friendly and or disengage. If somebody is being very combative, then you know what you got to do. I'm sorry, you know what you got to do. Get rid of them so that you can continue your run and maybe even be the savior of that server. Trust me, it feels good when you get rid of the player that has just been going around trying to kill everybody and grief everybody for no good reason. Maybe it was for a mission, and if that was the case, I would understand. But sometimes people just want to try and fry everybody as an ego boost. You get that loser out the server, you will be the savior of it. Another thing to keep in mind is that you do not have to complete an entire mission in one run unless you are instructed to do so. As you get higher up in the mission tiers, things will definitely become more and more challenging. A lot of times it will take multiple runs to complete just one of the tasks that are asked of you to do in a particular mission. It is totally fine to do what you can and know when it is time to exfil and get on up out of there. Trust me, that little voice in your head will let you know when it is time to go, so do yourself a favor and listen to it. Another thing to keep in mind is to not worry if you lose your insured weapon or weapons. As I mentioned earlier in this video, you can lessen that time by utilizing dead drops or extracting with money and or items. Don't quote me on the extracting with money part, but I do know that extracting with items will lower that timer a bit. Also, remember that the timer is set for a baseline of 2 hours. You can knock that timer down a good amount and find yourself back using your insured weapons within the next 2 to 3 runs if done right. Moving on here, I want you all to keep this in mind. Taking risks is exactly what this entire game mode is all about. High risk equals high reward here. If you find yourself dying trying to complete a challenging mission or fighting an enemy team that gave you no other choice, it is okay. Your focus will have to change for the next run or two, but then you could pick it right up where you left off. Also, even if you get killed and thirsted, but you still have other teammates that are alive, they can pull off a longer revive and get you back into the run. Now, your bag may have been looted a little bit, and you may not have everything that you had before you completely died, but at least you can salvage the rest of that run and maybe live to fight another day. Hey, you gotta walk away with the wins you can get, right? And folks, that is all that I have for you in this beginner's guide. Thank you all so much for coming and watching, and I hope you all learned a great deal. There may have been a few things that I missed while covering this guide, and I do apologize about that. I'm not perfect and I do not know everything. So as I continue to learn, I will continue to create educational content that I can share with you all. If anybody has any other tips they would like to leave in the comments, feel free to share them so that we can continue to get better and have fun as a community. If this video was a waste of your time, then I am so sorry for wasting your time, but I truly hope you were able to pull at least one thing from this video. With that being said, that's a wrap. I'm signing off. Until next time, stay humble, be blessed, and remain relentless. I'll catch you all in the next video, and we out. Peace.